starting the recording. Cool. So I am going to close out. So thank you, Mario, for joining as my partner in crime. Mario, if you can kind of be so kind of be my question monitor, that would be great. We're going to take all the Q&A at the end. I have just a couple of slides to share, and then have some updates on property manager over here. For some of you, maybe in yesterday's webinar for Candle, you know, the narratives is pretty much very similar with this. But we have also a little bit more unique stuff to kind of share with Canopy where it's at. So we're just gonna get it started. Let's see. Before I get started, I did noted that one of the people yesterday in the Candle, this other property in Houston update that we got was mentioning that they're not getting updates. So I just want to kind of let everybody know you should be receiving a monthly update for any properties we have on a monthly basis. So it's always 1 month delayed from the last month's financial. In the recent couple months that we have a little bit challenges with getting some financials, especially for our Texas property. We're gonna explain that later why. So kind of bear with us, but our goal is to make sure that we're sending out all the monthly reports on time before the month end for the previous month. And we were just informed today, you know, we kind of looked into a little bit because we did have like a few investor complain that like there's no communication. We're like, no, we send it out every month of communication. So we did do some investigation. Looks like Syndication Pro has a issue in their software. So we have noted that, you know, there is a several of investors not receiving communication because the email was randomly not sent to them. So we're looking into that. Syndication Pro has an open ticket to fix that issue. But for all you guys know, like, even if you're not receiving monthly, these are saved in the portal so you can access anytime. If the email mechanism isn't working for whatever reason that's not in our control with Syndication Pro, just know that you can always find your update on the portal. So, you know, that's just an alternative way to make sure that you're getting updated. I just want to make it that quick announcement before we kind of start our session over here. So I'm going to share my screen. And then we'll leave all the questions as unanswered. Mario, you don't need to mark them as answered because I like to kind of address them in the open forums over here to answer them. So anyway, I don't think the chat's enabled on this one for some reason. So if you can kind of just go ahead, put your Q&A or comments in the Q&A, that would be great as well. So we're gonna get started on this. I didn't prepare too many slides. I mostly just wanted to go through, you know, what's going on at Canopy, what are some of the updates, how are we doing it, etc. So this is Canopy, is a part of the portfolio Thrive and Canopy. So real quick update on the business plan. So we bought this property in about February this year. We're kind of about 7 months, 6 months into the game here. So where we at over here, and then we do have a big announcement that we want to make towards the end, kind of give people some transparency. So it's still in the early stage of developing, etc. But this property in particular, it's going a little bit slower than what we have expected in terms of the updates and etc. So I want to do a quick update on seeing what is already implemented at this property. So large of the delinquencies there's not much delinquencies at this property. So in general, that's kind of not really an issue, and just kind of continue going. We are very slow on loss to leases and renewal and finding new tenants and turning the dial on that with particular marketing traffic issues. And then also very slow on the unit upgrades right now. The ones that we did implement is we were able to implement fiber stream, which has been a nightmare in Texas for us on installation, but it's finally done. You know, it's finally done last month. They basically hired subcontractor came in, and then there were pipelines, like basically water lines and sewage lines that being broken. And on their dime, we have made sure that they have repaired them to the standards that we wanted, all that. But it did cause a lot of trouble for our tenants. Very, very inconvenient for our tenants. because also throughout the process, we have discovered the shutoff valves is only available. There's only like 2 shutoff valve for the entire 9 buildings. So this is creating a bottleneck issue. Anytime that you're going to work on a water issue, this is going to be an issue there. So that's the only thing that kind of got done, but it was not really done in a really good way. And I'm going to explain why. So continue on is based on the grievance that we have caused during this fiber string installation. This is now starting to get rolled out. We didn't want to actually go ahead and do the water saving. We're going to hold for a minute before we do water saving because that requires water shut off too. And then we're going to implement the water shut off, separate the shut off valves as a work to do before we kind of do this work to turn off building by building for the water saving package installations over there. So in general, why is it kind of doing so slow? We did add some banners and flags to increase the visibility of the property. And then we did have the fiber installed. The water conservation will be done. It's just not currently. I should actually put this not as like strike off. It's delayed because we wanted to kind of maintain the reputation or like enhance the reputation a little bit more before we piss our tenants off and turning the water off again over there. Meanwhile, also when we took over the property, there was a mailbox issue. So we're working through the mailbox issue now. That should be done probably in about 2-3 months around here. So then the question is, why is it moving so slowly? So I have a PM update that mostly want to focus on this discussion on. And basically we are firing relic and we're taking the property inside the house. Part of that decision is not driven by choice. It was kind of forced into this. So I kind of wrote down a little bit of chronologically what happened throughout the whole thing. So if we remember, in the end of February, we closed this deal. And then really we started operating this around the March time. And so March, April, May, Relic was kind of operating this. We, for some odd reasons, we were not able to get in hold with the on-site manager, but we were conversing with our regional. And our regional so far had a pretty good track record of managing Candle Manor, getting things done. So there's really no need to be kind of suspicious with anything. We did visit the site back in May. I myself did that myself, got to San Antonio, and I have noticed that the property is kind of quiet, and I also have noticed the pool isn't quite working. And the property is quiet on the traffic, and because no banner was up. So I've requested banners to be up. And I also suspected, like I was thinking like my on-site, I kind of interviewed him and I grilled her. And I feel like she was not really adequate for the job. So I've requested that to be removed. And I have also requested the signs to be ordered and the pools to be fixed. This and that, and the mailbox to be fixed. And I was told told repeatedly by our regional that this is fixed. We'll keep, because we're hiring a person, we have a candidate. This is not going to get fixed, or is fixed. So it turns out June rolls around. We start kind of pulling some other data, so looking at the things, and we're not too sure if they were fixed. So as a result, and then also in the beginning of June, our visit was May. Beginning of June, we got extra CapEx supervision fees coming from Candle Manor. So we were notified on this other property, Candle Manor, not this particular property, that we didn't have a previous agreement on capital improvement supervision fee, like basically a construction GC fee, that our PM will be entitled to. So on that property, it's 0. But somehow 60K was removed from the other property, from the operating account, and then went to who knows what. I think it went to the property manager owner's individual accounts, and then he marked it as a supervision fee for capital expenditure. That is very odd because we own the other property for a year already. and that was never agreed upon. It was actually contrary to the PSAs that we signed, the PM agreement that we had signed. So this triggered a whole bunch of investigation, because it's number one priority for us to protect our investors' interest. So on June 10th, we were noted on this for this other property. So Canopy does have this in the agreement, and it's common to have this in the construction fee agreement, and it's something that our lender has approved to fund. So that is in that package, but for Kendall it didn't. So we found that was really odd, and then because the stagnation of the work that has not been done, so there isn't too much capex being done for Canopy, therefore there's not much fee is subject to extraction over here either. And then so we decided we should take the most safe approach by notifying our lender, because when that's notified to us, we don't know who to trust or this and that. It's a very serious allegation. So we need time to investigate, but the best way, the safest thing is just asking the DACA account, where there's a flexible account that our lender has put it into so DACA account is a type of account that when we have like a lender bridge loans, the lender will require us to put in place with a third party bank institution. So the way that the money flow is that the tenants will deposit money into accounts, and then that account is that DACA account, which nobody gets access to. And then on a weekly basis, the account gets swept into operating account, which our PM has the control over, because they need that to do day-to-day operation. And then from that PM account, then by the end of the month, when we do reconciliation, money gets swept into our account with excess, and that's what we use to distribute or other, like, basically fund capex. Capex has a separate account where we have budgeted for. So basically that cash overhead gets swept into our account, and then that's where we do distribution. So that's kind of how sausage making is over there. So what happened is that when we received this notification, the safest thing I got together with Mario, discussed about that, is to protect the money. So we don't care if the money was frozen somewhere, as long as we know it's safe, because we needed time to investigate the acquisitions. So what we did is we notified the lender immediately on that day, and then lender needs to approve this frozen and resweep request, and it takes a week for the system to take. So we have sent in the request, submitted all the requests with a whole bunch of documents that they needed, and was told that yes, the fund will now start sweeping into another account, or not sweeping, just basically they're not sweeping that account, they just hold it into the DACA account, which is safest, right? Third party institute. So that was done properly on time for Canopy, thanks to what happened on Kendall. We did that all across the portfolio with the same property managers managing that. It was implemented properly into their system. So no money is swept into operating account. So at that time when this happened, there was only like $2,500 in that account. So we essentially protected all the fund except for that $2,500. So issues continue, we continue dealing with this whole drama. Early July, we got another notification, the property management account, operating account, is now frozen. And then the no payroll, it can be paid to our full-time and staff. This is because the property management owner, Robert Lopes, have used and has misopened the bank account. We wouldn't know the type, right? Because that's privacy information by the client. Basically, the property management account, operating account, what it is, usually what your PM is in control of, that is opened as a different kind of account, which is illegal. They're supposed to open a trust account, but they opened a separate account over there. And then he used that to cross-collateralize and get other creditors to give him more credits. So a whole entire fraudulent, like, wow, dropping a jar story over there. So bottom line is basically, I think and then he also falsified the bank account statements, which we have requested for, because on our monthly financials, we request for bank account, bank balance. We look at the softwares and we make sure everything ties together. So we have requested June statements for a very long time, and then we were not given them for a very long time in July as well. So I think now, hindsight, knowing what we know now, and then the whole story kind of just keeps on unfolding. And we only recently has learned, as recent as last week, has learned kind of like maybe the full shebang, what's going on. So these are all stories that we discover later. But in early July, we have noticed that the PM account is frozen, no payroll can be paid. Needless to say, also our vendors start asking us, hey, we did these work. This is not just for this property, but also for Kendall, but we were not being paid, right? And then we're like, no, we have approved all these quotes and we have approved all these payments. They should be paid. But they're like, yeah, we have not received any payments. So when we kind of uncovering this, it turns out, when the account got frozen, all the story kind of falls out. And we knew that there are 4 creditors after Robert, and they're the ones that froze the account, right? So meanwhile, we still think there's money maybe in these accounts, and we're working on unfroze them. Mario spent a lot of time on this. But at the same time, if you don't pay staff, your staff is gonna walk on your on-site, and then you don't have anyone who's managing your property. So we have to really quickly take over the distribution of the payroll duty. And then the good thing is that we kind of protect the account. So what's in loss over here is only like $2,500. So what we did is July 15th, we have took over the payroll duty, right? Really immediately, because it kind of just fell on the lap. And also starting from the 8th, we started noting these vendors were not paid. So we have to kind of individually contact these vendor and then making them pay. And what's happening is in the middle where the regional is supposed to doing all the work, and we thought she was really good, but she was not doing all that. So she was selecting doing certain things. We're not sure if she's involved in this or not, but we know the owner of the property manager is. So basically, she was saying like a vendor's getting paid, this and that, but they were not getting paid. And then there's also no communication from her, what's going on the vendor side. So we were on a lot of vendors' black book without even knowing this is happening, until we have to kind of chase them down proactively with very little help from the relic to make it just right to get that paid. So what's in stake over here really is only that $2,500, thanks to early reaction to this, us handling the early for Canopy property. So not too much damage is done, but we still want to make it right because the other property had a little bit more damage being done there, but not unrecoverable. So basically, we have garnished Robert's LP share, which there's $25,000 worth of it. And then we have also gathered our GPs together and voted him off our property, off our basically organization, like a company agreement. And then to make the investor right, we can use we have used his LP share and getting that released to the investors. So this is actually shared with all the LP that invest in there. So this 25K got added into the balance sheet. So in net, we actually made it out positive from this whole transaction for this particular property. But the particular damage that was done to the property is the lack of operation, because they hired people. I think some of the people hired not even qualified. And then they've been telling us like, hey, this is all being done, sending informations to us, but then the stuff is actually not being done. So this is the reason why the CapEx project was kind of done so slowly. And then now, so since mid of June, we have terminated Relic's contract. Basically July 30th or something is their last date. This allows us to at least transition some of the back end pieces over. There's a lot of stuff, onions to peel. Like for example, we have to sign up a new software, property management software, Resman, move all the data over. Meanwhile, with very little help from them, we have to shut down individual. Miriam literally, one instance, she literally went to the whole portal, shut down the auto payment individually, because they refused to give us bulk shutdown because hey, like these accounts were still going to their operating account for the rents. So we, Mario kind of just took initiative and they shut them down immediately. So there's a lot of unnecessary work that needs to kind of got into this with incorporated people. There's also domain transfers for our websites and etc. We're still kind of unwinding some of that stuff. So by the end of July, they were terminated. We removed them, like from the whole operation. And then we had to step in because it's just too fast to sign a third-party manager. So by August 1st, we officially took over. We're still going through lender approval to get that approved, but meanwhile, you can't just not have anyone running the property. So we have decided, due to our other Phoenix market items, we have decided to take over property management. And then in turbulences, people who are really excellent, people who are really loyal, excellent people kind of rise to occasions. So we did have our Kendall Manor on-site manager who has a previous regional experience to step regional. So she was overseeing both sites, which had 3 hours driving time, and she was driving that like twice a week to really get the staffing in place. It's been challenging to replacing these staff. We did retain, because in fear of having no people managing that site, we're forced to have to retain all the employee that was on site there, knowing that we may not like some of these on-site staff over there because their work ethics. We have to retain them. So August 1st, we did all the benefits and all that stuff, started with these employees. So now we're 30 days into operation. I do have a little bit of update on the stuff that we have done in comparison to what we did. So the damage was done on Canopy is not due to money. We got that kind of got under control. The damage was done just due to inaction and not providing any leaderships on running this property. So now we have taken it over. We very confident that it's going to get better from here on. We also have given the existing staff 30 days to work on certain things. At this point, we have decided to let them all go. And then we did have a team that kind of joined in. We have hired our community manager. He's going to start, like he's already working over there. We use a temp agency to kind of vet out who's the right candidate. So he's already been working there for 2 weeks. And then he is starting his full-time gig tomorrow. And then through there, we also have a maintenance lead that will be starting as well. So we are replacing the not so good employees with like the people who we actually want on the team right now. It's been really challenging with that, I would say, to say the least, but it's now hired in place. I can see this property going uphill from here. And then just even with the staff that's not optimal last month, we were able in that 30-day takeover, we were able to hire the regional to support us. We did multiple, by now we have done probably like over 10 interviews conducting for a community manager. The mailbox that was out of order, our tenant has to go to a different location to pick up the mail. So Patsy, our regional, has come up with a solution for allowing them temporarily to pick up the mail from the office. It does add more work to the office burden, but it allows to temporarily solve that problem. We did have the mailbox quote started, and the quotes are all paid, and the work should be starting here soon. So in about 3 months or so, the mailbox should be in. Less than 3 months, the mailbox should be in. And the pool has been green for the last 3-4 months, even though we were told they were clean. I have picture evidence that they are working now, functional. One pool is functional and clean. The other pool is functional and clean, but we have to add more water. It's a very tricky thing, like in the city of San Antonio. Like adding water will cost, like if add water into pool at the first time initially would typically cost $7,000 to $8,000. So we just decided we're gonna go try to fill the pool up slowly at the time, and then we'll deal with the city when it comes to it, because the cost will be probably cheaper to do that than the other. So we're adding water slowly into the pool. So the pool is half filled, but it's functionally clean now. That only took 6 months for that to be cleaned. Actually, that was kind of more of a joke. It only take us 15 days after Patsy took over there to get that functionally clean, but it took like 5 months for it to still not be cleaned over there without her leadership. So that's definitely moving to a better scenario. We have all the leasing and signage banner up and sign being ordered. We have designs for that. So these now the site is very visible. So from the foot traffic wise, it's okay, but we still try to resolve online marketing issues. So we're doing an audit on that right now. Grounds are all cleaned up, but the grounds were not picked up before due to lack of leadership. But the grounds are now all cleaned up, and we have ordered additional garbage and etc. just to kind of bring the property up to speed. Fiber string is installed finally with much of a resistance from the tenants. So just to kind of tread it a little lightly, we're gonna roll it out, giving them maybe 2 months free, and then we start gonna see some incomes from fiber stream. So in general, the property is changed for good. I just want to show during the last 30 day of takeover, despite all the back noises, all the stuff that we're working on, these are visible progress that we have made. And then in the next 30 days, so we'll obviously focus on the mailbox, and we're going to start doing some interior renovation. So it's picking up the right speed that we typically are used to, especially with the community manager put in place and a whole full new team in place. So we're pretty optimal with what we have over there. And we will be sending out a monthly update, and want to give you guys a heads up. We're supposed to send out July monthly update. We still don't have July financials because that's the last month's relative is responsible. We're not sure if we're going to ever get that financial. So as we switch property manager, there may be a little bit of gap in financials. But August is on us. And due to the transition, we may be a little bit later on that, but it is on us. Let us work through the kinks, get that out. And we do want to target earlier financials now that is end-to-end in-house. So give us like 30 days, basically a quarter to get that up to the speed where we want it to be. But we will be sending a monthly update this month with the financials from August. Couple positive thing coming out of this is we have noted after we examined everybody's payroll, we have noted there were markups inside our payroll insurance, medical insurance. So Relic was charging us more than what they are paying for medical, which is another thing. And then also payroll, there's probably some buffer like fees involved in there that was not agreed upon as well. So there's all areas of kind of stealing going on, but good thing, we have talents like Mario and Debbie on our team to be able to kind of find these issues. So we did, so we may be seeing a little bit, balance the payroll. I don't think the payroll is going to go down for this because this property is understaffed to start with. But we're able to kind of shift it a little bit from a payroll perspective from what people actually, getting paid and what we actually paying, because now it's all in-house. This will allow us to hire really good talent for the property, which is key and crucial to move the property to a more positive site. So we do expect the distributions to be held behind a little bit more. And we do estimate that's going to take us like basically essentially the first 6 months, we didn't make much progress on this property. We were told we were, and then the numbers does show so, but they're not the correct ones. So we're basically kind of getting a delayed of late start on this and having to go back and recover some of the stuff. So we're going to see the business plan is being executed. I will estimate maybe 6 months delayed in terms of what actually placed where we need it to be. So that's kind of the update. I want to kind of open the room up for any Q&As folks have. Just kind of handling through this. You can type in the Q&A if you have comments, etc. No questions.
I guess it was all crystal clear.
No, it's probably very confusing. Hector said, thanks for sharing. I appreciate your patience for this. Absolutely. It's definitely not an ideal situation happening, but we are doing that. So you anticipate distribution 6 months from August. So yes, we'll kind of have to see where we are with the cash flow management. So we do think that there's 6 months delay in terms of operation speed where we at. And then we're monitoring the incomes, etc. for that. So so this is definitely a surprise to us as well. And then for folks who's kind of wondering, like, how are we doing due diligence on our partners? We did do background checks and the criminal background checks and all that stuff on our Robert Lopes. And we did verify he did won all these awards that he said he won in the housing association. And then we also have checked the references as well. Sometimes people change it in their life cycle and they could just got into something wrongly and then that down spiral their whole life. I think this is a situation with him. So I think, he's got a multiple creditors after him right now. For this particular property, the damage isn't a lot. We can still make a right and actually comes out positive. So he actually probably lost money by doing this thing to this. We have another property that where there's more damage that was done fiscally, but we were able to kind of eventually make it all right to the investor as well. So it's kind of lucky that we got whistleblower early and we were able to kind of act on them more timely as well. Tenant deposit, the money safe. So issue with tenant deposit, great question. Is the money safe? So Mario, do you want to kind of answer that question? So
absolutely.
the question was,
yeah, absolutely. So in the case of the Canopy, we were fine because, like we said, the money was actually with us, and so nothing was stolen. It's a different matter with Kendall, but we always kept some cash reserves at the level of the ownership. So not everything has been embezzled, and but we do have everything we need. Also at the properties we've been using Rhino, and so some of the tenants didn't have to put in any deposits. It was more like an insurance in case there were any damages to the unit. And just so you know, and for full transparency, we have filed some reports with the police and the FBI, right? Because it is definitely money that was taken from our accounts illegally and for wrong purposes. And no matter how we've tried, there is no attempt made at all to return any of the funds. And even the attorney is silent now. So it's very unfortunate. We are kind of lucky somehow that we were able to get out of there almost unscathed. I hear some other people have not been as lucky, and everything I hear is that a lot of people don't recognize the person that he is now. But anyway, that's another story. That's more on the that's not the fact.
There is a little bit trade outs here too, is that the biggest concern I have, I would just share very openly, share challenges and all that, is the biggest concern I do have is like traffic coming in. But this is something that Lisa, so we are implementing Knox CRM. So that's going to get rolled out. So people are doing the training for Knox CRM, which is the software that detects like the top of the funnel in with leasing, etc. We had a lot of success implementing this into our other portfolio. We have noticed the online traffic is really slow. So the traffic is in general really slow on this property. So by implementing Knox CRM, we hope to kind of figure out where in the funnel kind of it fails. Also, I think a marketing plan was put in place. We signed the documents, etc., or it was signed by the regional, but it was not executed. So there's a lot of room that we can improve over there as well. On a few units, we were able to trade out. The trade out is still good at the $200 or so on the trade out because the property is very much under rented to that dismay as well is the tenants are a little aggressive as well. I don't blame them because what's going on, like which we have no knowledge of. I can see why someone is kind of really pissed off. So we are working through, re-tenanting a few of these tenants, and then try to work through challenges with aggressive tenants as well. But the trade outs are there for a few people who did sign up are there. So our tenants are trying to tarnish our reputations online, this and that. So we are kind of working through this whole thing as kind of cyber stalking scenario. So when you check online on these property, they're going to show very negative review. Just know that we have an ongoing case with a skating tenant, one or maybe a group of them. So we're doing some investigations on that too. Meanwhile, we can just only focus on correct what is wrong, getting all these things fixed, and then continue. We're going to be starting a reputation management program here soon as well, to drive some positive reviews and etc. So we feel like we're confident to kind of overcome that as well, because we've done a lot of these reputation management with our other C-class properties. So that's kind of to the extent of the update. Anyone else have any questions? That you have? If you don't know, you can type into the Q&A to ask questions. And like always, if you guys want to chat, just let me know. Send us the email, investors@easyrealestate.rocks. We'll be more than happy to kind of walk through more. If you have ideas, resources, and etc., we'd love to kind of get them. But it's an unfortunate event that happened. We want to give everybody an update soon. Then we find out, and it's amazing to think about. This has been really a lot of like I feel like we've gone through a whole year in these 2 months, just the stuff that we have to deal with. But it's now kind of behind us. We have worked through a majority of the issues and look forward for the property to kind of prosper. Another question here, another question was, what about contractors are up to date on payments? Yes. So we actually took through the Paystake effort to chase down every single vendor. So on this property, because it was kind of to the tail end of that when the property is bought, right? So on Robert's side. So at some point, the regional wasn't doing anything because clearly they're not getting paid either at some point. So a lot of stuff would not even start it. So there's not a lot of contractors that we have to work with on Canopy. Not the same case with Candle. We did have to deal with lanes. We got sent lanes that we didn't even know, but we worked through all that stuff. And so all our payments are up to date now, thanks to the 30-day effort that our accounting team has gone through. So Mario, Debbie, John on our side has spent sleepless hours to get that all kind of fixed and caught up. So we're all good on our balance books and etc. And some people may have thoughts on interest rate increases and etc. Just want you guys to know we have a rate cap on this at a 1.75 points over. We haven't triggered that threshold yet, but it's not the minimum that required by the lender. So we just had a foresight. We decided to purchase a little bit lower than the minimums, which I think it's going to pay off. With the rate continued interest, that our rate at some point is going to be capped at the total increase of 1.75 points. And we did have that rate lock for 3 years, I believe. So that will help us right through some, if rate continue increases, I think we have some safety net over there too. Cool. Okay, everybody else didn't answer the question. So we'll love, again, if you don't feel comfortable asking any questions right now, or if you haven't thought about it, if you're consuming the recording, please send an email to investors@easyrealestate. We'd be happy to kind of walk through this. Our goal is to give you guys more frequent update, to let you know, like definitely a monthly update, but maybe also just a little bit anecdotal, a little bit more detail in our updates to tell you like, hey, how's this all going and how are we all moving this up? So sometimes when we take over the property, it's expected first 3 months a little bit challenging. especially in this case, we're cleaning house with personnels and kind of give them 30 days. We thought it was just a leadership thing. Maybe we can correct it, knowing that 50% time, maybe not. So right now we're kind of going through and then kind of trading out all our personnels at this site. And that hopefully that is going to go into a more positive trend. Cool. All right, I will keep this short, and we'll send the updates as usual by the end of this month on this property, and looking forward to kind of chat about this and continue tracking this property. Yep.
And
Thank
for
you.
everybody who's watching the recording, if you have not received your updates, again, they are available in the portal, but we're also happy to resend them to you. Just let us know, because they are, if you didn't receive them, it is not intentional on our end.
Mhm. Yeah, there was a software glitches over there. So yeah, and sometimes it could also be going to your junk. So communication with email can always go the other way. We may be contemplating another updating quarterly update just to kind of keep everybody in tab if this is a format that you guys all liked. Cool. Great. Well, thank you so much for attending and for consuming the recording. We hope you have a good night, and we'll give you guys updates, more updates once we're trading with this. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.